session?
No, ma'am. Divya ma'am can, if you like, can. Ma'am, you're not audible. Divya ma'am?
Yeah, she's coming in.
Divya is already here. Okay, Divya is already here. Divya, please take this session forward. Divya, your voice is not audible. Yes, Divya, please. No, you're not audible. You're not audible, Divya.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, you are audible.
So, welcome everyone once again. And now we'll be presenting the session by Mrs. Archana Pathak. Ma'am is an AOR in Supreme Court of India and has extensive knowledge in various fields of law. Ma'am deals in various cases from criminal, civil, IP, matrimonial, property cases, and many more. With over 15 years of work experience and as an advocate in the Supreme Court and as a year experience as a trademark attorney, ma'am has been a part of various great judgments. We are delighted to have you here, ma'am. Thank you. Now, if anyone has any question please type them into the question box in your WebEx control panel, and I'll bring them up during the presentation. And there'll also be a question answer round after the session. Now, without further ado, we'll turn the time over to Archana, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
some.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just heard my very dear friend speak before me. And it's a very difficult task when someone like Aishwarya ji has given a talk and then you are brought in. So my task actually becomes very difficult. But anyways, I'll try to do justice with my subject, whatever topic has been given to me. And I've been told that I will be having somewhere around 30-35 minutes to speak on the subject. And thereafter, we can have your questions. It's a very interesting topic and very close to my heart. It talks about women in law. So, stay close to my heart because this is a journey that I have also undertaken. And initially, in fact, till now, it has been said that litigation is a male's passion. Well, not anymore. We have many distinguished lawyers now practicing in the courts, and they have proved themselves very well. Let us just discuss something about the historical aspect. We are talking about role of women in litigation and in law. Let me tell you a very hard fact that in fact the permission to vote or the right to vote was also given to women in around 1900, early 1918, 1915 or so. So it's not very it's really surprising to know that we were only given the right to vote. We were considered as a valuable citizens, and we could choose our government as only in 1918 or so. So therefore, the journey has been long. Many women have been very good at their profession, and they have proved the point that yes, they can deliver, and they are no less than any man in the field. In fact, if I may say so, that there is a term called feminism which is used nowadays, and which was originally coined by Charles Fourier, and he was a French philosopher. Now, sometimes this word feminism is taken in a very extreme direction. although it started as a movement which wanted the women to come forward because they were the deprived class. So it was a movement started back. And of history, we can find out that the first woman, who wanted to study law and then wanted to practice as well was someone called Regina Guha, and she was in the Calcutta. She studied in Calcutta, and after it was with a great difficulty that she actually finished her law. She did her education in law, and then she wanted to practice. So she went and she petitioned before the Calcutta High Court. And in fact, I was also surprised to know that a bench of 5 judges actually sat and they kind of discussed that whether they can allow her to practice, because till that time in India, we had no woman who had embarked her journey in litigation. I mean, anywhere in law for that matter. And women were only considered to be the citizens who would just take care of their homes. They would nurture children and give good values to them, and just take care of the house. Their opinion really didn't matter. So it was that in those eras, the lady stood up and said that I want to be in litigation. And the bench of 5 judges, after they went on through all the litigation juggleries that we use, they came to know that at that time there was this Legal Practitioners Act was there, and then they referred to the General Clauses Act also, and it referred to as any person. Now they deliberated upon that whether though in the Clauses Act, we know that a person includes the women as well. But they came to a conclusion that no, till now, we haven't seen any women going so far, and we don't think that they should be allowed at this stage. So her case was turned out and she wasn't allowed to practice. Then thereafter, there was a second woman. Her name was Sudhanshu Bala Hazra. And she also tried, and she also, after her education in law, she had 5 papers that she wanted to practice. And in Patna High Court, in fact, the full bench of Patna High Court sat, and I'm talking about this pre-independence era, they sat, and finally they also came to the conclusion that no, this is not the time, and it is only a profession where only the males can practice, because it demands too much of time, too much of attention, and too much of everything. And of course, women are not capable of doing that. So therefore, they also turned that request down. So finally, when we got the first women advocate in India was in 1923. In fact, 1921, Miss Cornelia Sorabji. She was the first woman lawyer in India. And at that time, the Legal Practitioners Women Act 1923 came into force, which said that the women have equal right to practice as a lawyer, practice litigation. And at that time, it was thought that women are needed in the profession to basically voice out the concerns of women. So there are Pardanasheen ladies. This is a term which is used for women who are in parda, and at that time you will very well know that women often used to cover their faces and they would not talk to strangers. So it was it was thought as a move which will facilitate women in coming out with their problems. And of course, there will be more, it will be easier for them to talk to the women lawyers. And that's how the whole situation was changed, and women were allowed in the profession. And in fact, initially the women were only limited to the fields of journalism or the fields of medicine, but women lawyers, it was a new thing back then. Thereafter, in fact, the first women judge that we had was Honorable Ms. Justice Anna Chandy from Kerala, and she was in Kerala High Court. And thereafter, we have seen quite a number of judges High Court. I've seen so many women judges in the Supreme Court, though we haven't got a Chief Justice of India as a woman Chief Justice of India yet, and we are all waiting for that. But till now, we have seen a number of women judges, although the number is not so impressive as I can say. Recently, we had three women judges in the Supreme Court, really exciting about it. We're very happy that it is for the first time since independence that at one point of time there are three women judges who are sitting on the in the Supreme Court. And now recently, Honorable Ms. Justice Bhanumati has retired, so now we are left with two women judges. And let me remind you that Honorable Ms. Justice Indu Malhotra, she is the first woman to have been directly elevated to the Supreme Court. And once, she's in an interaction, she has said that the litigation, our profession is like a jealous mistress. It demands too much of time and never satisfied. Doesn't matter how much time you give, but it's never satisfying. So that is also probably the reason that it took so long for the women to break this ice and to come forward. There are restrictions of customs. There are stringent them. And there is always, a tug of war that is happening between the family and the profession. And if I can tell you from my experience, it's been somewhere around 17, 18 years for me in the profession. And I have seen that many women embark this journey initially, but as soon as they get married, half of them just go away. Another half goes away when they get kids. And then they are just somewhere lost in the four corners of their house, or maybe they take up something which is not that time consuming. So it is very difficult. It's very easy for a male counterpart to just even after having a child or after getting married to come back to the profession immediately. But for a woman, it's an entire change in their circumstances. So it's really not easy. But at the same time, I would say that it's not too difficult also, because women are multitaskers, as we all say. It's not in our head. We have many compartments, and we work accordingly. We have one thing going on here and the other here at the same time. We are juggling between different roles, and you have seen many of the eminent jurists, the eminent lawyers. They do it so well. Nowhere when you see them arguing in courts, nowhere would you see that somewhere their arguments are less impressive, or they don't have that knowledge, or they are anywhere lagging behind. So when God has given us these special roles to play as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, we have also been given with various capabilities. And someone once said that, how do you do it so well? And the answer was, I didn't have a choice. So if you have to excel, you have to show your worth. You have to actually, have to undergo special ways to work, and you have to work hard and with full sincerity, because every time when you are there performing, there are eyes on you, and they are continuously judging you. So at no point of time you can just sit back and think that, okay, this is it, I have done enough and I think I just can go on. No, that performance pressure is continuously there whenever we are there. I'm not saying that it is not on our male colleagues, but still, because the number of women being so less, the performance pressure is, I believe that it is more on women. And in fact, while I was reading through the journey of women, I also came across that once in the US Supreme Court, it was asked to a women judge that, do you think it is enough? And when you see that there are enough women here representing, so she said, and let me tell you, there were 9 posts, the 9 judges at one time in the US Supreme Court. So she says, I don't think it will be enough until we have all 9 as women judges. So that is the kind of goals that you set for yourself. We are, in no sense, we are undermining men, or we are kind of having a fight with men, but it's just that it has been long, and women should be given their due. They never ask for any special favors or any special things for them, but yes, whatever they do, a little bit of appreciation, and to whatever work they are doing, I think that is what is really required. If we I just also went through the data collected so far, and up till 2016-17, the data that I got was really dismal. And you see, we have the judiciary divided into three levels. So the first is the trial courts, or we call the lower judiciary, and thereafter comes the high courts, and then there is Supreme Court. I got to know that in the lower judiciary, we had almost 10% of the women as magistrates, or as judges there. And 10% was still the highest, because if you came to the High Court, it was really less. And in Supreme Court, I told you that it was very, very low. And in fact, if you talk about the percentage of the senior advocates who are practicing in Supreme Court, it just comes down to somewhere around 3% or 3.2%. So you see how big. And in fact, it is very recent that we have seen Supreme Court making, giving senior gowns to the lady lawyers who've been exemplary in their work, who've argued really well before them. And it was very, very recent. I think Aishwarya ma'am, she was from that first batch where women were actually given senior gown by the Supreme Court. And because until now, it was only the high courts who were designating the senior advocates. So up till now, we have had, I think, around 8 women judges in the Supreme Court. The figure is dismal, though. We are now expecting more and more women judges to come. And let me tell you very, very frankly, whenever we argue before them, it's never that it never comes to our mind. And I'm sure my male colleagues would also agree with me that it's never a lady judge or a man judge. We are just arguing before a judge. But yes, whenever we have matters which are concerning the poor man, the common man, or women in general, we get a sympathetic ears. Most of them have been through those stages in life in initial years. It hasn't been a cakewalk for any of them. I can say that. So there is a different comfort level in the court when we are arguing before a lady judge, and it's very important also to put your best foot forward, so that in no way they feel that a lady advocate, she's not well prepared, or she knows a little less. So it was very this whole topic is also gave me an opportunity to go into deep in the subject, and to see how many such good examples we have. Also, what I found was that because of the fact that there were very less a number of women in the profession, there was also a problem of having a role model ahead of us. because everyone, when we are young, we are studying, we have one or two role models before us, and we want to be like them. So initially, there were very few women who were doing very good in the field. So always you would think about Mr. Palkhiwala or Mr. Sorabji to look up to. But I'm sure that as we are progressing, we are having women lawyers who have reached the point where we can call them as role models also. And in fact, I would just read a passage. It reminds me that when this topic, or in for the entry of women in legal profession was talked about. So it was a case of Bradwell versus Illinois, when they discussed that should women be allowed in litigation or not. So there, I would just read, and what the judges there said, that, and I quote, natural and proper timidity and delicacy which belongs to the female sex evidently unfits it for many of the occupations of civil life, and are to fulfill the noble and benign offices of wife and mother. So you look how it was seen in US and Canada at that particular point of time. I'm talking about the latter half of the 19th century, when they were discussing that whether women should be allowed. Of course, now women are very much there in all corners, but it was back then. So that's how I think of the subject. And in fact, if I just tell you something about my experience, I come from a state called Rajasthan, and where women are not so modern. I can say, of course, in their thinking they are, but they are not being given so much of opportunities. And till today, there are very few women in the litigation, and of course as judges. And I might also tell you this, that it's little disheartening to tell you this, that till date we haven't even got a single woman judge who is elevated from the Rajasthan High Court to the bench. It's not that the women there are not practicing aptly, or they don't have that vigor in them, but somehow I think servant to men. And even in the, I have seen a lot of difference when you go to the high courts like Rajasthan or Bihar, and when you are here practicing in the Supreme Court in Delhi, the situation in the metropolitans, the situation is entirely different. In fact, even if you say, for that matter, High Court and Supreme Court, it is different. It's different. But you go to Mufassal courts, go to the magistrate courts, in the in the deep roots of the rural areas, and you will find that the situation is very grim. In fact, once I had traveled to a high court, I'm not naming now, but I traveled to a high court for a matter, and I was startled that there was not even a washroom for the lady lawyers, and I had to really struggle my way out to see that where exactly are the facilities. So I don't know how the women lawyers practice in such areas. And the way the entire litigation crowd, even the advocates, look at you, because I had gone to argue a criminal matter, a bail matter, and that court was completely jam packed with the male lawyers, and not even a single. So even in the profession, you have those things to say that women cannot really practice criminal law, and civil law, or the family law matters, divorce matters. These are the areas where women should be restricted, and they are very good at that because they are homemakers. They kind of take care of the families. So even in law, they should be taking care of only those particular kind of matters. So I was talking to you about my state, and in fact, when I moved to Delhi to practice, and so in Supreme Court, you get matters from high courts. And when my colleagues sent me matters, it happened initially that the clients would actually come down to Delhi, to my office, to see me if I was competent enough to practice. And many a times it happened initially that they would just come talk to me, discuss their cases, and they would go, because they would think that, being a woman, maybe she won't be able to give the best, and she won't be able to take care of the matter. So I but once you've been through it, all that you remember is some very fond memories of the entire thing. I am very blessed to be in Supreme Court, practicing here in Delhi, because here there is not much divide between men and women. I can say that, I can vouch that when we are arguing before the courts, the judges are not weighing us as a lady lawyer or a male lawyer. We just come, we do our part, and we go. But of course, there is a lot which needs to be done. Courts, the courts are, and I'm sure as time progresses, we will have many more women who will reach to the top. We have recently seen that even the additional solicitor generals that are appointed, we have Aishwarya ji, as she's recently become an ASG. Then we have Madhvi Diwan ma'am. We have seen Indira Jai Singh ma'am. We have seen Pinky Anand ma'am. Of course, I know, I've been told that Pinky Anand ma'am would also be addressing you. So let me tell you, till now, we have only 4 ASGs in the Supreme Court. But the situation is improving. There are women who are coming up, and they are definitely the role models for each one of us. And we have to just keep trying hard. I'm sure we will be able to achieve and reach to a point where we can say that, yes, being the 50% of the population, we are also represented now in that manner. And that is why, in fact, sometimes even a kind of reservation, people are talking about reservation for women also in the profession, in the judiciary, and everywhere. So I don't know about reservation, but yes, some kind of incentive or some kind of schemes, I think, are required. The government should think about it, and so that more and more women join the profession, and they are able to give their bit to the society. I think I have taken my time.
अगर आप सबको इक्वली पे करना चाहते हो तो आप 15% काटोगे, फिर उन बेचारों का आगे हो जाएगा। कहते इस 70% पे भी हाँ ये सोचो कि कहीं सिक्योरिटी ना कट जाए। मैंने बोला सर क्या दे रहे हो फिर आप हमारे को हाथ में? अरे नहीं मैक्स टू मैक्स अगर 70%।
I can see some voice. I can hear. Okay, so I think Divya, I think it's been my time. Any questions if you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Any questions that you have? I've spoken for half an hour now.
Let's look for it if someone has any question here.
If you can be just a little bit loud.
I'll check for it. I'll just check for it.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any question, they can just unmute themselves and ask one by one. So we can start if someone has any question. Ma'am will be taking question answers now.
Hello, ma'am. Hello. Good morning,
Hello.
ma'am. It's me, Suraj, ma'am. I have a question, ma'am. That what are some measures which are being taken by the government to initiate means to more to be more inclusive toward the women's in the professions in lower courts, magistrate courts, and in those lower courts, because we don't see often any women lawyer practicing in the magistrate courts and on all the lower courts, district courts, like that. So just you you have shared your experiences based on your past. cases?
Surajit, it was a very apt question put. In fact, the reason I have not seen many women advocates or practicing at the trial court level is probably because of the reason that there are not enough facilities. We are not talking about very fancy things, but of course, the minimum the minimum facilities that you require when you go out to work in all the offices, they are there. But I see that they are quite absent in our in the courts below. And women, of course, they are capable. They can do. And many of the women who opt for litigation, they try and come to High Court or Supreme Court to practice because of the fact that the basic facilities are not there in the courts. And in fact, given a chance, women actually stand up for their rights and, in fact, the rights of the entire society. In fact, I'll just tell you that three days back, there was a campaign which was started by women lawyers in particular, because in this corona time pandemic situation going on, it is very hard. The lawyers are actually suffering because no courts are happening, the courts are shut, the physical hearings are not happening. So women lawyers across the country fought the cause, and more than 2,000, I can say that 2,500 women from across the country, from Leh Ladakh till Kerala and from Meghalaya till Rajasthan, everywhere, women have come forward. They had started a signature drive. More than 2,500 women have signed the petition, and we have presented that to the Honorable Home Minister for giving some kind of relief in kind of loan to the advocates, and they have asked it for everyone. And also to improve the virtual court infrastructure of the court hearings, because when you talk about the Supreme Court or the metro cities high courts, the situation is still okay, but virtual courts are not really successful. They are down till the tehsil level, because when we are talking about laptop scanners, but we don't even have a good bandwidth to conduct the cases. So women have stood up for this cause, and I'm sure something should be done by the government to for
Sorry
the
to interrupt, ma'am.
overall
I wanted
legal
to.
fraternity.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Just I wanted to ask one more question.
Yes,
Conjugating this,
Ji.
that being said, on the individual level or volunteer activism, women are doing what they can do, what best they can do. Hello, ma'am. That being said, that by volunteer activism, women lawyer are doing their best to make it more inclusive for the counterparts. But what are the governments are doing? What measures governments are taking to be more inclusive to other women in law and in lower courts?
Surajji, I was talking about reservation back. In fact, in judiciary, in the lower judiciary, I can say that reserved for women in the judiciary, and but we see sometimes those are left unfulfilled. It's a slow thing that is moving in our profession, and that, of course, we can talk about judiciary. In litigation, you can't have any such reservation, because here it's the clients who come to you, and if they see that you are really worth it, then they would. I can see there are other voices also at the back. Yes. So as far as the reservation we were talking about was can be given at the judiciary level. Of course, till the lower courts, we still have some. But in the High Courts and Supreme Court, we don't have any such reservation, and there are no seats fixed for women. And it's only I think it's high time that even the collegium system should think about the inclusiveness of more and more women in the higher judiciary. And of course, and when you see when you talk about litigation, it's more of the infrastructural facilities that you need to have in a court so that women can practice a favor from anyone. I think I'm able to give a satisfactory answer.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Surajji.
Hi, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, if anyone else has a question, please put it up.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, ma'am. I would like to ask you a question. Ma'am, women are often discouraged in law as to pursue a career in litigation. Rather, they're pushed for pursuing judicial positions. Ma'am, as a woman who would like to get into litigation, do you have any advice?
See, wherever you go, it's good. Even judiciary, it's no less. But if you want to be in litigation, and it's irrespective of your gender, I must say that you should. There are few qualities that a lawyer must have. So at one point in time, when a lawyer is practicing, uh, he or she is trying to discuss law, to place submissions before the court. That's one point. All that you have to do are the legal submissions you are making. Your knowledge of law is there. Then the second aspect is you are dealing with the client. He does not understand the language of law, so you should be able to persuade him, make him understand, and know his psychology. And you have to be a person whom the client can confide in. So these are two different roles that a lawyer plays, and there is nothing, no gender differentiation there. So when a client comes to you, your role is different. When you are there before a judge, your role is different. Um if you feel that okay, you can be good at both, then I think you should take litigation as your career. And initially you should, I think everyone should be for some time in the trial courts. uh, you may because that's the point where the matters come in. The start point of a litigation is the trial court. The original things happen there. And once you've been there, if you can be there for you have enough matters and you can be there well enough, otherwise you can even then come to High Court and then Supreme Court. But I would always suggest, and I always keep telling whosoever, all the interns who come to me, that initially spend some time in the trial courts, learn the law etiquettes there, learn the court craft there. It's quite different from what we do in High Court and Supreme Court. You learn a lot because there even if you make some errors, it's okay, you can try and mend that. But once you come to the constitutional courts, it's very difficult. So just make sure that you are trained enough to before you come to the High Court or Supreme Court. So irrespective of gender, that is an advice for everyone. Now, more particularly for women lawyers, it's you have to see. I mean, I of course, as on today, when we are talking about, the situation is really grim. There are not enough lady lawyers practicing at the Mufassal level, but you can be the first. Of course, initially also there was a woman who stood up first. So you can also be one. Just keep trying until you succeed. That's what I had to say on this. Anyone else?
Is there anyone else who would like to put up a question, or should we just wrap it up then? Ma'am, I think that would be all. If there's something you would like to say to wrap it up.
Oh, good morning, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
There's a question.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Jagrati.
I would like to ask you a question. Ma'am, there are many laws in India for protection of women, but the implementation of law is not up to the mark, as also remarked by Aishwarya ma'am. So, what are the practical impediments in the implementation of law? Can you reflect on some of the current scenarios that of the impediments of the implementation of law?
Yes, Jagriti, you're very right. In fact, I think the main reason why the laws are not implemented in a way which were thought of by the parliament is the basic the thought process or the kind of traditional mindset that we have. So even if, in fact, I've come across so many such judgments where, in fact, Aishwarya ma'am was talking about sexual harassment at workplace. And I came to know a very, very recent judgment, I think late 2019 or in fact start of 20. There's a judgment by Justice Chandrachud, and he had made some stark comments on how the officers are taking this law. They are not taking it that seriously. What the intent of the parliament was, or whatever initially when the Supreme Court dealt with the matter, the initial intent of the court was something else, and now how it's been implemented in the offices is completely different. So there was a case where it was seen that the women, actually the lady, she, I think it was a bank's case, and she had filed a case of sexual harassment at workplace. And what happened was, after making that complaint, she was only transferred. What the law talks about is that the perpetrator, or against whom the complaint has been made, he should be transferred, and not he should not be there at the same office where the woman is. But actually it was the other way around, and she was made to run from pillar to post to get justice in the end. So that's how the mindset goes. So once a woman tries and stands up against any of the wrongdoings, she's the one. The question is that she must have done something wrong, or it's only this person who's having a problem. Rest everyone is working fine. So there must be something she needs to correct. So that is a mindset which is there. And so many cases we see, also the fact that there are so many cases which are pending in the courts, and more grave, of murder or POXO, sexual offenses against children. So these kind of cases of sexual offenses, not of that high degree. I'm not talking about murder or rape here, but even small, something that is not right in the office. It might not be to that degree, but those type of cases somewhere take a back seat. So implementation, of course, it's the will of the people. The government can make as many laws as possible, but until and unless they are implemented, they are, and we also are big stakeholders in that. We have seen, in fact, when I joined the previous session, I could hear that the laws are often misused by women. We have seen how the Supreme Court has also talked about the fact that the 498A law has been drastically misused by women. And a lot of lawyers are responsible. All that you could see, I can tell you from my experience, that initially when the matrimonial matters would come, and we would see there's a particular draft that the lawyers would prepare. So a 498 petition would have everything. I mean, you would accuse your father-in-law, your brother, mother-in-law, and maybe you are only having a problem with your husband, but you would try and rope in the entire family. And even if the woman said that because one such client came to me and she said that, no, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, I have got no issues with them. It's only my husband who's problematic, and he's having some extramarital affair, and therefore he's doing blah blah blah. So I said, but your petition mentions everything. He said that my lawyer said that if I will not include all these things, that I would not get justice in the court. So it's also a notion. A lot of lawyers are also doing that. So we have to be careful when we are drafting our petitions. And a lot of time it is seen that if you take the gravest of the case, then only you will get justice. So that thought process needs to change. We need to only bring up, because if you continue doing such things, then the laws which are framed for your help, for your welfare, will be misused, and ultimately you will be probably left with the striking down of those laws. So that is the main problem in implementation that we see in our country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anyone else who would like to pose a question to ma'am?
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hi.
My question is, as Supreme Court is the apex court and it is the organization to provide and encourage women priorities and situation in India, but the collegium is part of it, seems like not interested to consider the women into higher posts. Like Vijay Kamlesh ma'am, who is a past Chief Justice of Madras, was resigned due to some transfer to Meghalaya, which is lower court than Madras court, instead of giving the post as a Supreme Court judge. And is all the acts for women are only on papers instead of applying it, ma'am? When compared to collegium is the part of Supreme Court, and even that is not implementing the things for the women to encourage and all the things. What do you count?
Rahul, well, I really cannot comment on individual incidences, but first thing, there is no amongst the High Court, there is no higher court and lower court, so all the high courts are on the same pedestal. And we have seen it's not uh, because of the fact that the women were not so much into the profession, and they came very late in the profession in litigation. So therefore, that it would take some time before you would have adequate number on the bench as well, because you see, when a person is elevated, and a lawyer is elevated to the bench, the minimum practice that he should be having is 20 years. And of course, how well you were as an advocate, and how are your skills, all those things really matter a lot. So we've seen that it's not for too many years that women have come to the profession in litigation. So it's going to take time till we have many women, the more number on benches as well. We see a lot of progressive judges now who talk about women rights. And we really recently we had a judgment where women were allowed in the army and all the forces as well. So everywhere, we have to put in more efforts to come to that level where the efforts are recognized. It's going to take some time, but it will happen slowly and gradually. It's not a day's work. And let's be very hopeful about the entire scenario. Let's continue our work, and I'm sure we are seeing there are women who are now sitting on very high positions, and I'm sure we will be able to see more women on the benches as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rahul. Do we have questions, or we can just
Morning, ma'am. I would like to ask something from you.
yeah
So my question is that we have seen that mostly the victims, like victims of acid attacks, rapes, like sexual harassment, are women. So if we getting like special provision that we have been allotted a woman lawyer for our cases from the state side, it will be convenient for us to like fight for our case or betterly discuss the situation, because I have seen myself that discussing our problem, a woman when discussing about any problem like this, it is quite difficult to discuss these all things with a man. So what measures should government can take in this direction? Like we don't have efficient numbers of solicitors general in the Supreme Court. So these are problems we women can take. Not.
Yeah, Asta, I understand what you're talking about. You're right. In fact, the law says that the victims of rape, whenever their examination is done, it should ideally be by a lady doctor, and only if she's not available, then a male doctor can do the examination. Also, in fact, in POCSO cases, when the testimony of the child victim is recorded, it's mostly they try that it's a woman judicial officer who's sitting, or the advocate is a woman, so that obviously, because of the fact that we are more emotional, you can say, or we try to deal with such situations in a different little with an emotional touch, with a different way. So therefore, it's easy. And you're right. We see a lot of public prosecutors now as women in the country, and they are doing really good job. And it's important for women to have those, to be on those posts, because of the nature of the crime that you're talking about. And of course, it definitely gives the victim a sense of uh, an emotional, help, I can say, so that they can come out and speak freely about their problem. So I'm with you on this, and I think the government should come up with some sort of more numbers for women lawyers to that position.
Ma'am.
Is there anyone else who would like to to ask a question to ma'am? Ma'am, I think that would be all. So if you have anything
Thank
to
you,
say.
Divya. Thank you. It was really wonderful to have interacted with you all. And today's topic was actually, a very general topic, but very close to my heart. It gave me an opportunity to go through so much and to know about the history of women. Um, and it was really very, very exciting to see so many women who have struggled, and it is because of them, their hard work, that we can see a change in the situation now. So the onus really is on us, the women of today, to take this thing forward and to give our future generation the kind of support, the kind of atmosphere that they feel relaxed to work in, or they feel that freedom that we have been given now. So thank you very much, India. Thank you very much, Ganeshji. And thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Divya, and everyone who is on the panel. And thank you. I also would like to thank Aishwarya ji for giving
Thank you to
such.
you, ma'am, for your work.
Yeah, thank you. She really gave so much, such nice words she used for me. I'm really overwhelmed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be beginning with the next session later.
See.